Hello there, I'm Nemo. About a week ago, I released a video on 3D Adventure, my biggest project yet. The problem is that the project itself took a few months to make, and the video took even longer, mostly because I was procrastinating on making the animations, but still. With that kind of upload schedule, I won't get anywhere. So, I decided to challenge myself and create a GD level in a single day. Obviously, one day isn't enough to create something big like a 3D renderer, so I'm gonna settle for something smaller, like Pong, which is the first, but not quite, video game ever created. Now, coding Pong in Python or any normal programming language would take you about 10 minutes, but the problem is that this is Geometry Dash, so creating something like Pong will take a few hours, to say the least. It is currently 1:30 PM, and I'm gonna try to do it before midnight. Hopefully I'm gonna succeed, but I'm not particularly optimistic about this one. However, there's no point in stalling, so let's begin. Now, the first thing I think I should add are the controls. It's always best to have the controls before you implement the actual level itself, so let me quickly do that. The design of the controls is a little bit hard to explain. I'm probably going to end up making a dedicated video, as I said before. But to give you a quick rundown, when we have two players, the bottom one can be activated with spacebar, and the top one with mouse or the arrow key. We can attach objects to the motion of the bottom player using follow player Y, and that way we can detect collisions with the top block to see when the player has pressed the spacebar. The problem is that for the top player, follow player Y does not work. However, touch triggers have a special dual mode setting that only activate the corresponding trigger if the top player jumps, and ignore any motion from the bottom player. If we then create two counters and add to each whenever the left or the right keys are pressed, we can make a good system that detects both of those presses. Then it's just a matter of using count triggers to handle motion whenever one of the counters is active. The rest of these triggers are related to simply stopping the pedal whenever it hits the colliders at the ends of the track, which doesn't really matter. Now that that's done, it's time to work on the ball physics. Alright, I screwed up the recording 2 times now, but hopefully this time it is going to work. So I spent about an hour creating this monstrosity, which is basically a circuit that directs the movement of the ball and also its bouncing. You can see how it works here, where the ball is just bouncing off the walls as well as off the pedal. So the way the movement works is we have a direction indicator and we have the ball itself, and then the ball is moved towards the direction using move to trigger. However, direction and the ball are set to follow the ball object, and that way the direction moves with the ball. It is a bit of a weird concept, but you can see it here in motion. So the direction moves with the ball, and that way the ball moves in the specified direction continuously without stopping. Then whenever it hits a wall, I just mirror it on X or Y axis depending on the wall. And mirroring is done using move to trigger, but only on the X or Y axis, so the direction indicator is moved towards the main object, either on the X or on the Y axis. And it is moved twice, so if you put 2 move triggers, you actually mirror it on the specified axis. You can see how it works here. So these triggers are the same, they just do move of the direction towards the ball object, X only. And then I have this flip-flop circuit, which basically just toggles itself on and off, and these two movements are essentially the same, so both of these move triggers are just moving the ball towards the direction indicator. The reason we need the flip-flop is because we need to stop the motion whenever the ball hits a wall, then we need to change the direction of the ball and start the motion again. We cannot do that in a single frame, so we need 2 groups of triggers that are toggled, so we toggle off one and toggle on the other, and the other way around. And with all that done, we get something that looks like actual Pong. Now, if you've ever played Pong, I think you know that the main tactical element of Pong is reflecting the ball with just the tip of your racket. That way it changes the direction and you can bounce it off the wall to trick your opponent and gain a point. Right now the ball is bouncing off at the same angle as it came in, and my goal is to change that next. Alright, well, it has been a few hours and I've done something. I went through multiple iterations of the reflection system, and the problem is that I've wasted a whole bunch of time because when I went on the internet, it turns out that in the original Pong, the reflection of the ball doesn't depend on the angle of inflection. Basically what that means is that we don't have to count at which angle it falls onto the racket. We only need to do specific steps for each position of the racket and then reflect it in the given direction. So I have started adding the corresponding triggers, and well, it's taking a bit of time, but I just have to finish the other half, and I've already noticed that it's kind of hard to change the angles, so I might need to do scripting, which I really hope I don't, but I might have no choice. Okay, so after about half an hour, I've got a working AI. Well, to be fair, I had a working AI in the first 10 minutes of development, but since then I have also changed the pedal size as well as the speed of the ball. Basically, I am making little tweaks so that the game is actually playable. And now, as you can see, it's pretty good. I am planning to make the ball speed up so that the game doesn't last so long. And well, that's pretty much it. So now I have to actually implement the score system, because right now, if I miss a ball, nothing happens. After that, the game will be complete. So just give me about half an hour. In the middle of making the scoring system, I actually realized that I forgot to explain how the opponent AI works. That isn't a big problem though, since it's pretty self-explanatory. There are two collision blocks at the top and at the bottom, and if the ball enters the blocks at the top, the opponent moves up. If the ball enters the blocks at the bottom, the opponent moves down. And that's pretty much the entire AI. The only other addition I had to make were the stopping blocks at the end, because otherwise the opponent's pedals sometimes went into the wall, and we wouldn't want that to happen. Alright, so get this. I've been tracking down this bug for about an hour. If you look closely at the opponent pedal, sometimes it kind of jitters when it moves down, and it also goes through the barriers at the end of the track. And turns out there was no bug, and actually it was caused by the fact that the pedal moves slightly faster than the ball, so it quickly exits and enters the collision blocks, and that's what causes the jitters. So I'm gonna go fix that real quick, but I've lost so much time on this bug and I feel kind of stupid. As for the works of the new speed system, it is a bit janky, but it works. Basically, the game is powered by move to triggers, where the ball is moved towards the direction. And if the move to triggers are really slow, then you can stack up a lot of them to gain significant speed. The advantage of this method is that by adding triggers one by one, you can gradually increase speed instead of doubling it. And that way, you can construct a system where the ball starts out slow and builds up speed as it bounces off the racket. After every bounce, the speed is increased by a little until it reaches 6 bounces, when it just goes like crazy. And at that point in time, it's pretty much just a couple hits and somebody's guaranteed to lose. So yeah, like here. And there we go. I also made the automatic restart system, where every time a player scores, the ball is put back into the middle. Honestly, when thinking about making this level, I never thought Pong would actually be fun to play, but it's growing on me. Welcome back! I've been working on this non-stop for about, what is it? 9 hours now. And I'm just barely done with the gameplay. The problem is that I also had to add the decorations to actually release the level. And well, I have an idea about that. While playing the levels, I realized that the default Pong decoration with just black and white lines isn't gonna cut it. Luckily, some time ago I released RTX Challenge, a challenge with an interesting decoration technique, where the light of the player seems to be reflected off the borders of the obstacles. I'm going to implement something like this here. The problem is that I don't know how long is it gonna take, and I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna be done by midnight. So yeah, I'll be back soon. Okay, so in the past half an hour I've been working on a 7-segment number display. Well, I mean, technically in my case it's more of a 13-segment number display, but the principle is about the same. I also added some scaling to the numbers to enable some cool effects when a player scores a point. I think that looks pretty cool. The only problem is that now I have to repeat it about 4 times, because there are 2 players who have scores and each score can go into double digits. After about an hour decorating, I have finished the main part of the level. As you can see, I have completely changed the outlook of the rackets, as well as added effects to the numbers whenever a player scores a goal. Now, you can probably see that right now the playing field looks a bit bland, and I have an idea of what to do with it. I want to make a circuit board-like pattern, where the lines will react to the light emitted by the rackets and the ball. I don't know how long this is gonna take, but I'll try it and see how we go. Okay, well, this took a very long time, but after a while, I am finally done. This is how it looks, and I think it's kind of cool. The whole point of the circuit board is that it's not particularly visible until the ball illuminates it. But right now it's really black and you can see the design, so I'm probably going to add a bunch more lights, so I'll go do that now. Okay, so as you can see, I have added the little lights that illuminate the field. And also at a certain point they start blinking towards the music. And yes, I have already chosen the song for the level. So I think this is the decoration of the level pretty much done. And what I have to do now is add a couple of obstacles, because right now, as you can see, the gameplay is rather repetitive. And I think that's gonna be the last thing I'm gonna do for this level. So yeah, final stretch. Okay, so after a while longer, I have added some obstacles to the game. Basically, all I did to make the obstacles, I just recolored the pedals and removed any AI they had, and then I'm just moving them into the scene on the queue. I'm overall satisfied with the quality of the obstacles, so I will move on to the last stage, which is adding the end screen as well as the logo at the beginning. Alright, so it is currently 2:20 AM and I have finally finished the level. Now the only thing left is to actually complete it and upload it. Out of notable changes since the last update, basically everything has to do with the end screen and the intro that you just saw. The end screen can be either game over or you win, depending on, well, who wins, and then the player is killed if they lose. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the whole level done. Now the only thing left is to try and complete it. Well, the level is finally finished. It is currently 3 AM, almost exactly. The level took way longer than I expected. In the end, it was about 2 days of constant grinding. Nevertheless, I think the result is pretty good for just 2 days of work. Still, that doesn't mean that I gave up on my idea of making a minigame in just 1 day. And, well, Geometry Dash Quick Make might become a series. Honestly, when creating this level, by far the hardest part was actually verifying it in the end, because the level itself is relatively okay, but the coin requires you to complete it flawlessly, meaning without missing a single ball. And, well, it wouldn't be as much of an issue if not for OBS that kept crashing on me, and I actually lost a successful completion to it. Still, in the end I verified it and uploaded it. It is now on my profile, and you can see the password in the video in case you want to copy it. With that said, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I kindly ask you to subscribe to the channel. After all, this type of stuff takes tremendous amount of work, and I really cannot continue without your support. Anyway, this has been Nemo, and have a good day.